All right, so we're looking at an opponent who's evasive with their head movement. What I always tell people is you got to hit the opponent where he's going to be, not where he is. And then people come back with, reasonably, they say, well, how can you know that? I can't see the future. And my response is, yes, you can. You read the future by looking at the past. What he just did previously, he'll do again to make your punch miss. And the reason you know he'll do it again is because he did it reflexively. He relied on reflexes to do that. So what he'll do once, he'll do again. He's not going to change his nature that quickly. So first I come in with a 1-2. And this is not often done. People don't often do this with mitts, is you make the guy miss. So I throw a jab cross, I miss with the cross, and he gives me the head movement of a slip. And what that does is it informs me about where to throw the rear hand next time. So the first time again, repeat the same thing. 1 miss, look where his head is. So then you reach into your toolbox and say, well, I've got other punches I can throw with this hand. I've got a rear hook that'll catch him when he moves his head out to the side. And these are what we call contingency punches. You throw them when he moves in a way that necessitates using it. You don't just, it's not a bread and butter punch. Your primary punches, and in fact, the basis of any scientific method of fighting starts with a straight line. Jab, cross. At this distance, at this range, that's what you've got, the straight line, jab and the cross. And as you get in, then you've got arcs and arcs and arcs and shovel punches and things. But you don't have those out here at the get-go. You start with straight lines, you see what he does, and then you pull out the arcing punches with the rear hand. So now again, I go 1-2, and I see that, and like, okay, follow that away, and then I go a 1-6. Jab, rear hand hook, okay? And then I can follow it up with a pivot, and I can drive 2, 3, 2. Nice to follow up and reposition. Well, then I say, well, is there another way he can move his head? Yes, if he moves under it, even whether it's a cross or whether it's a rear hand hook, they both miss if he just goes under it. So my contingency for that is the rear uppercut, which again, like I said, you wouldn't just come out and throw rear uppercuts out of the gate. You throw them once you see how he moves, and you see that the movement of his head agrees with the rear hand uppercut. So now I go, we'll jazz it up a bit, we'll do 1-1-2. I go 1-1, and look at that, he went under because he was inside, under to get outside, and he would throw his hook. So it'd be like this. A little closer. It'd be 1-1 here. So I'm ready off of that 2 to block. It keeps me honest. He didn't weave under it for no reason at all. He weaved under it, wove under it to follow up with his hook. So then I said, I could land that rear uppercut because his head is moving right under there. So he thinks it's going to be a cross, and I go jab, jab. He thinks it's a cross, but it's a rear uppercut because I saw him move his head there. 3, 2, and then while I'm at it, I might as well change range and throw a little knee. Connect your boxing with some clinch. So now we've got a pretty broad repertoire of rear hand angles based on how he moves his head, and you are, like I said, you're predicting the future because you're reading the past. You're looking at what he just did, and here's how you know what he's going to do again, is that you notice the early motions of it. Like if I'm here and he's going inside and starting to go under, I already know right there that he's going to go under my cross. He's going to try to make it tight too, make it barely miss so he can hit me before I can recover this hand. So that's the game. That's what happens between two fighters when you're throwing punches. So the last part again, 1-1, 1-1, and I miss. You've got to take note of how you miss. And I say, okay, 1-1, uppercut, hook, cross, that catches him, and then there's my knee as a follow-up.